So today I will be continuing from last week. But just before we go ahead, let me introduce myself. So for those joining us for the first time, my name is Margaret Uchieng. I am the director of the Inclusive Village. My company specializes in diversity and inclusion in leadership. So I am also a coach, so I work with different individuals in navigating life, the things that make us feel stuck, if we want to move faster, if we are trying to find the best way to get started with big dreams or small dreams, that's what I do. So feel free to visit my website later, www.theinclusivevillage.com. Just a bit of a background. How did we come up with this A Million Dreams and what is it? So A Million Dreams was an idea that came earlier this year to me. It was born out of my own experience and out of my own journey. I have had the most adventurous 4 or 5 years. Well, and that my entire life has been adventurous, but these last 4 to 5 years are the ones I want to tell you about. Because about 5 years ago, I dared ask myself a question that many do ask themselves, a question that you have probably asked yourself. The question was, what do I do with my life? What do I really want to do with the rest of my life? That question sent me on a journey to find out what I want to do with my life. That journey has led to a career change, multiple job changes, many tears, many laughters, many victories. And I've learned so much, and I've had an opportunity to work with so many individuals who are going through transitions and change, their own change and their own personal journeys. And one of the things that really struck me was the fact that so many of us, when we look around, we see so many people with untapped or undertapped potential. And that was me at some point. And having gone through that whole journey and looking at life very differently now, I wanted to start a space where we can all come and share our dreams and get the support we need and challenge ourselves to ask the questions that sometimes we don't want to ask because we know they're going to change our lives. So this is what this space is. It's where you come to face yourself, to ask yourself the questions that you know will change your life. And we're here to support you, to give you the courage to stick with it. So thank you for joining us. Now, I wanted to recap because I said last week that today's session will be a continuation of last week's session. Today, we wanted to focus a bit more on how we can think more proactively. If we were to show up authentically, if we were to, with the parts of us that we hide, what does that actually mean? And how must we be thinking? How could we think differently to help that process be a reality? So today, I want to summarize that in 3 things. The first one was one I already dealt with last week, awareness. Last week we were dealing with an awareness. In awareness, we spoke about the different things that we hide. So if someone asks you, what are the masks that you wear? In what ways are you finding it difficult to show up authentically? We talked about these things. Some of us find it really difficult to bring our voice. We want to say, we have something to say. We have something to contribute to the world through our voice, something we want to say, people we want to speak to, but we hide because we think maybe it's not perfect yet. It's our voices that we hide. Some of us, it's presence, and by presence, we talked about being available for the people that need you, for the people that you want to serve. So this, again, asks you the question, who would you like to serve? Is it your family? Is it somebody? Is it a group at your workplace? Is it your company you want to serve? Is it your customers? Is it your community, a community that you belong to, a church or a mosque, or a group that you belong to? Is it your children? Who is it that you want to be more present for? And how are you not showing up authentically? How are you not making yourself available? How are you not making your presence fully noticeable and fully graspable in the places where you would like to contribute? So that's the presence one. Some of us, we found that we are hiding at work. So people who do amazing things, achieve so much, but are unable to articulate this, or are ashamed or are afraid to promote their work, to go to someone senior and say, this is what I have done, and this is why I need this kind of opportunity. So if everyone can just mute themselves as they join. Yeah. So that is the work. What are you doing with your work? Some of us are doing things outside of work, such as art or a piece of work that you've written, a book that you've written, but you're hiding it because you're always waiting for the perfect time or you're afraid. Those are some of the ways we hide. For some of us, it's your body, because maybe somebody has shamed you before that you don't look good enough or you're a certain way. And because of this, you're afraid to go out in public. You're afraid to do the things that you want to do. Maybe you want to speak at an event, but you're afraid that your body doesn't look great, so you can't stand in front of people. So you're hiding your physical body because of something that people have said. So those are some of the things that we hide. Now, as I speak today, I'd like you to think about, what do I hide? Is it my voice? Is it my presence? Is it my body? Is it my work? What would I like to step out with? If I was to step out authentically, what do I want to show the world? What gift have I got to show the world, but which I hide right now? Is it your voice? Is it your presence? Is it your work or your body? And I want you to just get that ready in your mind now. And we said there are many ways in which, when we come to an event like this, we are fired up and we want to step up straight away. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. But then all these other things right here come up. So I will do it. However, before I turn up to speak at this event, or before I show my boss this piece of work, or before I share my piece of writing with the world, or before I step up and ask for that promotion because I really deserve it, or before I show my client this nice new piece I am working on, first of all, I need to maybe go talk to somebody, or maybe I need to go do a course, or maybe, so putting a lot of sequence in place so that everything else, you want to do everything else first, except do the very thing that you should do. That's sequencing. Or sometimes it's concern about people. What will people say? Or what will they think of me if I told them that I've done, will they laugh at me? So worrying about people without selecting the right people whom, if you showed your work, would welcome it. That's about people. Or hiding your story, because your story is a part of who you are. It's what will help you step in the world in the way that you should. Some of us think our stories are not interesting, or nobody will be interested, or someone will laugh at you or reject you or shame you for it. If you haven't told your story, it will be very difficult for you to step out authentically. For some of us, it's qualifications. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to run this event, but before I do it, I need a PhD, or I need to go do another course in speaking. Well, for most of us, you will find we are already overqualified for the things that we want to do. That's the reality. There is a place for qualifications, but there's also a place for starting with the qualifications you already have. So letting the qualifications you need to get before you get your dream on the road is another way that we hide. And then for some of us, it will never be ready. It's endless refining. I need to make it better. I need to make it better. It's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. It's probably ready. You could just ask for feedback and start. So the first thing is being aware. In what ways do I hide? What do I hide, for example? Is it my voice, my body, my work? And what tactics do I use to keep me hiding? Am I sequencing? Am I worried about people? Am I not telling my story? Am I obsessed with qualifications, or am I just endlessly polishing and never getting ready? I want you to remember that's the first thing. So if you wanted to make a step in the way that you think, so what happens when we are polishing and hiding is we're constantly reacting to life. We are not responding to life. And Taz did share with me a video a while back by the CEO of, I think, YSC, which is a big consultancy. And he put it this way, that when we say someone is reacting to medication, it's because they're producing some side effects that they don't like. When we say someone is responding to the medication, it means their body's responding positively and they're getting healed. The medication is helping. So when we're reacting to something, it's not helping us. Our bodies are doing something, but it's something very unhelpful. When we are responding, I want you to think of it as we are receiving something that is helpful, that is getting us into the direction that we need to be going towards. Now, when we are hiding, you will find in a hiding state, we are constantly reacting because we are just not ready. Something happens, it's like fighting fires. So if you're feeling you're very overwhelmed and you feel like you're constantly fighting fires here and there, you do this and then you do that, it's possible that you haven't stepped into this authentic space. You haven't told your story. You haven't refined what you are here for. You haven't refined, how do I show up in the world? When you sort these pieces out, when you know how you hide and are dealing with the tactics, you will find that you become more proactive. It doesn't mean that you can control life or life's events, or like right now, so much is going on in the world. There's so much uncertainty. We can't control it, but we can be ready. We have the tools to respond. If I know what my voice would like to say, I am faced with a situation that is challenging my voice or trying to silence my voice, I am ready with what I would say. I can tell my story. I can show my work when my job is under threat. I can articulate what I have achieved for my company so that I can be considered if some people are being considered. So this is what we're talking about. Why is this so important, especially right now? If you're a business and you're being threatened, if you own a business and your business is under threat right now, maybe it's one of these things. How can you step up? How can you stop reacting and fighting those fires? How can you refine your voice? How can you refine your presence for your clients and step into that place? And you can apply it in any area of your work. If members of your family are having to deal with so many different things right now, perhaps it's one of these things. Maybe your presence, your psychological, your social, your presence within your family right now could be the thing that steadies your family. So I want you to think about, why is this so important, especially right now in an uncertain and changing world? Is because being aware steadies you. Being aware grounds you. Being aware helps you to be prepared. You can't control what's going to happen, but you will respond rather than react. The response is a much more empowering action than a reaction. Now, I'm going to give you two more. Let me just check the time. Okay, two more. So first, awareness. Second, I want you to visualize. For some of us, after I've talked about awareness, you're still wondering, I don't get it. I don't know what to do. So I want you to, let's do this exercise together. Now, think about, what is it? In what ways, what are you hiding? Is it your voice, your presence, your work, or your body? Which one of these would you like to tackle, for example? Pick one. Now, I want you to think of somebody who is a role model in this area, which means they show up in the world in a way that you admire. Maybe you admire their voice in the world, how they're authentic with their voice, or how they're authentic with and available with their presence, or how they're able to articulate their work, or how they don't mind what they look like. They can show their bodies even though you think it's not perfect. So I want you to think about who would be your impact role model. So just have somebody to mind, maybe one or two, three people if you can. Think. And then I want you to think about, what things does this person do? And what things do people say about them? This is to try and help you understand, if you were to be more authentic, or people who are authentic, what does this feel like? What does this look like to the person and to other people observing? It's just to help you to unpack it a bit more. So think about that person. What things do they do? How would you describe their character, for example? What are some of the things that you've had people say about them that you really like? Okay. I know this is quite quick, so we will send you these slides and you can go through this again in your own time. After a second recap, you might be able to do it a bit better. So I'm just going through it, but when you get this video, take your time with this. Take your time with this. It will reveal to you how you could be stepping out. Okay, so in what ways would you say you're similar to this person? And in what ways would you say you're different from them? Are there some similarities that you immediately notice? Are there some differences? What authenticity is not, is we are not trying to say you should be like this person, that you should be a copy of your role model, that if you're going to be authentic, then you have to do things the way this person does. Absolutely not. We want you to be the best version of yourself. What this does to you is show you what are some of the things that resonate with you. What could you learn from this person? What could you adapt in your own way so you can present yourself not as a copy of this person, but as your own version of that? So say, for example, this person talks like me. what we call jazz hands. Their hands are always in the air when they speak. Some people dislike that. So for example, so maybe there are other things, but you'd be like, but she's different from me because she's always talking with her hands. So my authenticity would allow me to talk, but I wouldn't want to use my hands. So it's how would you adapt some of the things that this person does. You don't have to like everything, and adapt that to your own style. Now I want you to keep that person in mind. If possible, have a conversation with someone else about this person. Say the things that you admire about them. Say how different and how similar you might be and how you might adopt these things. This will help you to refine your own, begin to refine your own style and how you want to show up in the world. Now, maybe up until this point, you're still thinking, I need a bit more, I need a bit more, I need a bit more. I get it, but I just need a bit more. Okay, I'm gonna give you one more. So first, be aware. 2, visualize. Visualize what your authentic self would be. Find the gaps here and how you can step in. What are the gaps between me and this person? Okay, this is how I adapt. Write it all down. So you're creating an image, an authentic image of yourself that you're going to present to the world. All right? I'll give you one more that you can do. Okay, this is going to be a poem. As I play this poem, I want you to focus. Think about the words that really stand out for you. It's only a 1-minute poem by Maya Angelou.
Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky as his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom.
I want you to type in the chat, when you are hearing this poem, what are some of the things that stuck with you? So for some of us, you feel very much like that free bird. You can see the fields. You can claim the fat worms. But for some of us, you still feel like the world around you, there's still something to be dealt with. So much. And I want you to listen to that poem later. But if you, sometimes when the cage is still around you, you can wait. You can choose to wait.
Thanks.
But sometimes you do what this bird does. You sing. It doesn't bite. It doesn't sequence. It doesn't wait for someone else to tell its story. It doesn't wait to be freed. It sings. And as it sings, its voice goes far away into the hills. It sings for freedom. So sometimes what it takes for us to do, sometimes we just have to sing. To sing is to start. To sing is to start, is to not wait until you've got. The caged bird doesn't rehearse its voice. It doesn't wait for another day when it's perfect. No, it starts to sing. It starts to sing now. Its voice goes towards the hills. It doesn't worry what the other birds will say. How can a caged bird sing? It sings. So if you're grappling with something, there will be time to work that out. But what can you do now? How can you start now? What small thing can you start now? The caged bird sings. I'll hand over to Claudine.
Thank you, Margaret. Wow, that was absolutely incredible. And I really love that poem about the caged bird. And it kind of takes us nicely onto a couple of things I want us to focus on over the next couple of minutes or so. And it's really about what next, because our thinking has to lead to action. If we're talking about our authentic self and how we show up in my own skin, being comfortable, being happy with who I am, then it's one thing to be happy and comfortable with who we are, but our thinking must lead to action. Our thinking must lead to change. Our thinking must lead to that thing that we are thinking about. There has to be something tangible. There has to be something that we can hold on to say, right, this is the thing in terms of how I'm going to show up. So, you know, as Margaret was speaking about how we show up, and bringing our own self to this place. So I found a quote here from Zig Ziglar. Before I tell you about Zig Ziglar, let me tell you a couple of key points that I'd really like to hone in on. For the last 25 years, I've been running a multi-award winning social enterprise. We mainly operate in the care and education sector. But the thing that I love to do the most, love with a capital L-O-V-E, bold and underlined, the thing that I love to do the most is really personal development and leadership coaching, because I wear an entrepreneurial perspective, and that's the way how I'm showing up to you today. As an entrepreneur, an authentic entrepreneur, I want to kind of hold your hands for the next 15 minutes and hand hold you through the process of how showing up as your authentic self and putting your thinking into action will help you move to that next phase of life, whatever that might look like to you. So when you're thinking, the quote from Zig Ziglar says that when you change your thinking, you change your actions. And when you change your actions, you automatically change your future. So a couple of questions by default that we've got to start asking ourselves is that we've showed up here tonight, whatever the time is in your respective time zone, but what are you hoping to get out of this? More than showing up because you're connected to Taz or connected to Margaret or connected to me in any kind of way, how are you going to ensure that this hour of your time and the hour that you had last week, how are you going to utilize that? What do you have to show for it? What will your actions of this hour and the last hour that you spent with us last week, Tuesday, what does that mean to your future? How are you able to turn what Taz said last week? How are you able to turn what Margaret said last week and this week? How are you able to turn your thinking into action? How are you able to take the thing that you see in your life and put legs and wings onto that idea? There's a famous quote by Greg Giffen. He's a leadership coach, and he says, actions without thought is impulsive, but then thought without action is procrastination. And one of the things I want you to take your time, literally right now, is to think about identifying one wild and precious dream that you would like to realize over the next 12 months. In whatever sphere of life, it could be in your fitness, it could be in your family, it could be in your finance, it could be in your faith. The whole world is trying to navigate a global pandemic. It could be anything, but find or try to identify one wild and precious dream that you would like to realize over the next 12 months. If you dare, I would love you to put that in the chat. What type of thing would you like to achieve? And I know, right? I want to be very realistic. I know that you might need some more thinking time, and it is a task for you in your own time to reflect on. But for the time that we have now, because maybe in our conversation we might be able to pick up on your one wild and precious dream that you'd like to realize over the next 12 months. And one of the reasons why it's important for us to kind of have that discussion and just kind of talk into what that dream looks like is because I'm going to share with you some thinking strategies that may be able to help you develop or grow your dream. My favorite author and mentor, John Maxwell, he always says, dream loud, dream big, and dream in color. Let me say that again for you. He says, dream loud, dream big, and dream in color. And one of the reasons when I had the opportunity to meet with him and ask him, why does he say that all the time? And he writes about it all of the time. He's a leadership coach and personal development trainer. He says, because in about 20 years' time, when you look back on your dreams, they are going to seem so unexciting. I remember I was clearing out my office and some of the things that we had collected over a significant period of time, over the last 20 years. And we found our very first mobile phone. Now, if you can imagine what that looks like, our very first mobile phone, it was about this massive. It needed a whole massive briefcase to fit in there. But when I think about how we utilized that phone 20 years ago, and all of my staff, they were falling over themselves because it was, you know, hot potatoes, right? Everybody wanted this mobile phone. It was hot off of the press. But now when I think about the size of my mobile phone, it's this big. It fits in my back pocket. It fits in my bag. The phone that we had before 20 years ago, you needed a big, you know, a big bag to put the whole contraption in. My point is this. Your dreams should be taking you in a direction. They should be taking you in an upward trajectory. That one wild and precious dream, that thing that you want to realize over the next 12 months, regardless of the sphere of influence that it fits into. I remember through my course of work, I speak to different types of people all the time, and they'll say to me, you know, Claudine, I want to change my career. I want to increase my income. I want to intentionally increase my capacity for more. The thing that allows that to happen is you. The thing that will stop it from happening is you. There are external factors, of course, that we have to take into consideration. But the truth of the matter is, if you get really serious about your dream, if you get really serious about showing up, if you get really serious about turning up as your authentic self and positioning yourself to achieve those things that you really believe are in your pathway, or that you really believe are part of your life, then nobody can stop you from doing that. When you sit down and look around at your circumstance, it almost takes me back to whilst Margaret was playing the poem about the caged bird. I don't know about you, but Nelson Mandela came to mind for me. As I sat down, I had the opportunity, I was in South Africa last year, and I had the opportunity to visit the Apartheid Museum. And in the Apartheid Museum, there is a replica of the prison cell that Nelson Mandela was in when he was on Robben Island. But when you think about the caged bird and whatever is inside of you and whatever you want to come out of yourself, are you going to allow the frame? Are you going to allow the cage of the external environment to stop you from achieving that dream? So I want to share with you a couple of thinking strategies, because this is the action point. This is the thing that we've got to be able to do, do, in order to turn our thinking into action. This is the thing that's going to help us to achieve our precious dreams. This is the thing that's going to help us to take life in a different way. It's the thing that's going to allow us to lead differently. So the first thinking strategy that I want you to explore is big picture thinking. Big picture thinking says, where do I see myself 12 months from now? It's the question that I asked you to consider earlier on. If you were wearing a business hat, you could potentially say, what are my mid-term, short-term or long-term goals? Short-term is generally 12 months, 1 year, 12 months. Mid-term is generally 1 year to 3 months. And long term is generally 5 years. ask yourself, if I have a wild and precious dream, how am I going to bring this dream to realization? Your dream will allow you to stay on track because it's the thing that you put in front of you. I don't know how many of you do vision boards at the end of each year. My family and I, we generally get together and create vision boards to help us to, a vision board is literally a board, a big board with, in a pictorial form, of pictures of things that you want to achieve in your space over the next 12 months. The purpose of the vision board is that it's supposed to stay in front of you. So every day that you wake up, you see this vision board and you are constantly working towards your vision. A little bit like the postcode that you put into your sat nav or your GPS, wherever you are based in the world, whatever you call it. It's the postcode that takes you to where you want to go. So what big picture thinking does, it keeps you on track. It allows you every morning when you wake up to get that wild and precious dream into your life, into your being, into the very fiber of who you are, so that you can begin to put things in place, so that you can begin to rehearse those conversations, so that you can begin to visualize the thing that you want to see, so that you can begin to become more self-aware of who you are, how you are showing up, and whether or not that is having a direct impact on your wild and precious dream. Is how you are showing up having a direct impact on your dream? If it is, great. But if it isn't, what corrective action do you need to take? Because the other thing that big picture thinking allows you to do is that it allows you to see differently. It allows you to see with your mind what other people miss with their eyes. What does your mind see? What does your mind say? Although it might not be tangible at the moment, but that's what your action is for. That's what your thinking is about. It's about causing you to grow. It's about causing you to see things differently. It's about causing you to identify, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities and what are my threats? If I was teaching a business class, we'd be doing a SWOT analysis right now. But when you're able to then identify what those areas are, it helps you to promote teamwork in the context of allowing people to complement your skills. So for example, in my business, I'm good at leadership. I'm good at management. I'm good at managing the steer of business and winning new business. But I'm not a very good salesperson. I'm not very good at accounts. I am at finance. I am not very good at negotiating. So in my team, I make sure that the people on my team who are helping me to realize my vision have complementary skills. When the people on my team have complementary skills, then we are all working together in an upward trajectory. So the question that I would ask you is, what skills do you have? What skills, where are the skills gaps? And what do you need to do, or who needs to come onto your team in order to help you to realize that vision? The other thing the other thinking strategy that we need to consider is focused thinking. Now, I know this is a lot to process, and after we finished here, you've got some homework to do, right? You're going to think about these different thinking strategies and think about how can you relay them to your own respective context. But I've learned through the course of running a business, and through the course of realizing my dreams, and through the course of realizing my wild and precious dreams, I like that theme, my wild and precious dreams, that I need to get focused. The focus allows me to bring clarity to my thought. It helps me take my thinking to the next level. I think it was Einstein that said the significant challenges that we face at this level of life cannot be solved at the same level of thinking. We've got to be able to take our thinking up another level. So if you're going to take your thinking up another level, we've got to use the opportunity for our thinking, or our ideas rather, for our ideas, for our dreams to marinate. I've always found that whenever I come up with an idea today, if I continuously go back to that same idea over a period of 7 days, that idea becomes bigger. It becomes a better version of what it was on day one. I'd encourage you to think about expanding your focused thinking strategies so that you can bring your wild and precious dreams to life. It's the way how we've built our business. It's the way how I've built my staff team. It's the way how I've built my consultancy. It's the way how we've been able to look at problems in our community. It's the way how we've been able to look at personal problems in our own respective lives. I shared with you earlier on that if you think about the different areas of life, maybe your fitness, your faith, your family, your finance, your work, the way how you choose to show up, if you think about one of those particular areas and the particular difference that you'd like to make in those areas as it relates to your wild and precious dreams, what is it that you need to do? And if you could challenge yourself to go back to that particular idea every day for the next 7 days, I guarantee you'll come up with a bigger picture idea. I guarantee that as you harness your energy towards your desired goal, you'll come up with strategies, you'll come up with better ideas of how you can make this work. Thinking strategy number 3 is this. Every time you have an idea, your ability to get creative with your idea is what allows your idea to add value. It allows you to explore options with your idea, and that's kind of the concept of out of the box thinking. If you have your idea and you say to yourself, because I believe in self-talk, right? I normally say to people, if you see me talking to myself, I'm getting expert advice. But what creative thinking allows you to do is that it allows you to explore your ideas. It allows you to connect the unconnected. And these are some of the strategies that I've employed as an entrepreneur. And I know that everybody on the line isn't necessarily into entrepreneurship, or everybody doesn't necessarily want to be an entrepreneur. But these are skills that are transferable in any area of life, especially as it relates to your authenticity, especially as it relates to the way how you choose to show up, especially as it relates to the way how you bring out the best in your respective ideas. The last point I want you to have a think about is realistic thinking. What realistic thinking allows you to do is to confront the truth of your situation. It forces you to ask yourself questions that perhaps kind of take away the sugar-coated or the rose-tinted lens of the circumstance. It forces you to ask, what if my ideas fall short of my predictions? What if things hit rock bottom and things don't go according to plan? What if I don't win? What if I fall out with the people who are on my team? What if I lose? What if I've come up with this great idea and I haven't thought through the pluses or the minuses of my plan? Realistic thinking allows you to ask yourself those questions and begin to put contingency plans in place in order to bring your wild and precious dream into fruition. I don't know how many of you have heard of the acronym SMART, especially as it relates to goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And it's the R that we really want to have a look at in that acronym. When we're talking about being realistic, we're asking ourselves questions that cause us to think outside of the box, but they also cause us to ask questions like, why does it have to be done this way? What's the root cause of the problem? What, if any, are the underlying issues? What metaphor or symbol helps me to better explain the direction of travel as it relates to my wild and precious dream? Why is this important? And then lastly, is there another perspective? As you work and put your thinking into action in order to develop your wild and precious dream, it's important to dream loud. It's important to dream in color. It's important to dream big. Because in 20 years from now, as you sit down and rehearse this day, the 26th of May, as you flick through your journals of life, as you flick through some of the conversations that you're able to have with yourself, you'll be able to ask yourself, how did I bring my dream to life? How did I put legs and wings on my dream? If your dream is a business, if your dream is progressing in your career, if your dream is about improving your fitness or improving your finances or improving your family situation or anything to do with your faith walk, if whatever area your dream is, there are different thinking strategies that you will be able to employ in order to bring your dream to life. I hope you have found this helpful. I'm going to hand you back over to Margaret.
Yes. So before we move on to the feedback, we have 2 events coming up. If you are enjoying these events, feel free to join our partners in Nairobi. People who've been part of this journey are putting on this fantastic event on the 6th of June, 2 to 3 p.m. East African time, which is 12 to 1:30 p.m. our time. This event is geared towards couples or families, so look it up on Eventbrite. It's live now. We will be holding an event here. This was supposed to be our first event. It was supposed to be face-to-face. It was supposed to be right here in Woking where I live. But because of coronavirus, we ended up online, which I think for me has been amazing. So I am not regretting this at all. Had we had this event in Woking, maybe we would have missed all the interaction we've had online. This event is still on. It's still live on Eventbrite. There's only, I think, 35 spaces. So if you would like to come to a face-to-face event, we don't know what's going to be happening in September, but we will make this a practical event where you can work with somebody or in a small group to make progress. It's one of your dreams or one of your projects. So if you want to make a dent in something you're working on, book yourself into this event. The tickets are limited. Okay, over to you, Taz.
Firstly, just thank you so much to Margaret and Claudine for a really wonderful and insightful session today. Margaret, I think one of the key takeaways for me was absolutely that beautiful poem that you shared, that this notion that even when we feel trapped and caged in, there is some small action that we can still take. And I loved the story of the bird, where the bird was able to I'm just going to mute everybody. Where the bird was able to sing so beautifully, and that song had so much power. So even when we feel caged in and trapped in, there are still things that we can do that will give us so much the action that we can take that can still be so powerful. So I really loved that. And Claudine, I think one of the things that's really come out from your talk is particularly around the vision board. I think it looks like quite a lot of people are going to be trying that out over the next few days. And I love that quote about dream loud, dream big, and dream in colour. I think that's really, really wonderful. And there's a quote, and I can't for the life of me remember who said it, but if we're not feeling afraid or scared, then it means our dreams are not big enough. And so there's something really wonderful about this idea about giving ourselves permission to dream and dream big. And if we're feeling that fear and anxiety, then that means that these are the dreams that we want to be following in our life. So I really, really love that. So before we kind of open up to the group for a bit of a Q&A, we thought that it would be nice to share with you the kinds of things that Margaret, Claudine and I offer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I offer and then hand over to Margaret and Claudine. So I do a lot of work with people who want to identify their career direction. So I support them in identifying their purpose and clarifying what it is they want to do, and then learning to take the actions to get there. I work a lot with individuals and with organizations around authenticity, courage, managing stress and resilience. And so a lot of the things I do are both at the individual level, but also at the leadership level as well. So I work a lot with leaders to enable them to identify their authentic leadership style so that they can really thrive in their roles. And finally, there's something about really cultivating meaningful social connections and the impact that that can have both in the workplace as well as outside of it. So if any of those, if you find any of that interesting, please do get in touch. And now I'm going to hand back over to Margaret if you want to say a few words about what you do and what you offer. You're muted again. Let me just unmute you.
All right.
Okay.
Unmute. Thank you. Yep. So you can head over to my website, www.inclusivevillage.com. I work with both organizations and individuals. With individuals, it tends to be personal journeys of people who have been hiding for a while, potential that is waiting to be tapped, but fear is holding you back. If that is the kind of thing that you want to make very quick progress, very quickly, dent through your fears, I don't tell you to get rid of your fears. I just help you and support you to work around them, which is exactly what I've done. I can still confess I am a very fearful person. I'm still afraid of most of the things I want to do, but I do them anyway. So I look my fears in the eye, I acknowledge them, but they don't stop me anymore. And that's the kind of help I give individuals. So I'm not going to tell you, oh, you have to just be courageous. Well, you're allowed to be afraid. Just get on with it while you're afraid. So if you want to do some work around your fears, but making progress while you're still afraid, singing even when you're still in the cage, and then one day realizing actually while you were singing, the cage burst open. That's the kind of work I do with individuals. So feel free to get in touch. If you want to host an event like this at your workplace or in a community where you belong with a small group, you think that what you've heard here would really benefit the individuals or the past series that we've had, please get in touch. We're happy to bring the event to you, or we're happy to support you to deliver one. So if that's your dream, get in touch with me. These events are supposed to grow legs and wings and travel all over the world. And we want to spread the word. We want to help people step into their authentic selves. So hold one. If you want to hold one, let me know and let's see how you can do it. Again, I've talked about this. If you're just feeling really stuck and really overwhelmed, which most people I start working with just are in this space where they can only describe themselves. I feel stuck, I feel overwhelmed, I don't understand why. And picking through those things and helping you to get on your way, I can help you with that. I work with organizations to strategize on their equality, diversity, and inclusion programs, helping leaders have challenging and difficult conversations or teams that are falling apart for one reason or the other. So if you have any of those that you would like me to work with you on, or you want to have an inquiry, please get in touch. Over to you, Claudine.
Fabulous, thank you, Margaret. So I'm an entrepreneur at heart and have been for the last 25 years of my life. So if anyone is on the line who wants to start, run, or develop their business idea, I think a global pandemic has caused us to realize that it's important for everybody to have more than one revenue stream. Companies are turning to governments for support. They're turning to all kinds of situations. If you've got an idea, no matter how small, I'm the person to help you develop your entrepreneurial ideas. I did it for myself over 20 years ago, and thankfully it's worked for me, for my family, and for my children. I think that it's important that we consider more than one revenue stream. Even if you can't see it in your current circumstance, let's have a conversation. My details are on the screen. Go to my website, claudinereed.com, or send me an email. We can book in a no obligation conversation for us to see how can we help you to have more than one revenue stream coming into your household. Thank you, Margaret.